There is probably an Instant Pot in your kitchen right now. It works fine. It will work fine for another decade. That's the whole point of it. So here's the question this file exists to answer. How does the company behind one of the most beloved, most viral, most purchased products of the 21st century end up in bankruptcy court and then in a lawsuit where the court-appointed trustee uses the word plundered? This is the newest file on our shelf, and unlike the others, it isn't history. The lawsuit is live. The two sides are still arguing, which makes this the file where you get to watch everything this series has taught you in real time, verdict pending. This is the liquidation files. Open the folder. Start with the origin story, because it's the best one in our 16 files. In 2008, a Canadian engineer named Robert Wang was laid off from Nortel, the collapsing telecom giant in Ottawa. Instead of hunting for another corporate job, Wang spent his savings and 18 months of his life engineering a better pressure cooker, microprocessor-controlled, safe enough that it wouldn't become your grandmother's kitchen horror story, versatile enough to replace half a cabinet of appliances. He called it the Instant Pot. He put it on Amazon in 2010 with essentially no marketing budget, and the internet did the rest. Reviews snowballed, food bloggers evangelized, Facebook groups with millions of members formed around it. By 2013, it was outselling stovetop pressure cookers, and by 2017, it was a full-blown cultural phenomenon, the thing everyone's mom got for Christmas. A laid-off engineer had built, from his own severance-era savings, one of the great product success stories of the century. Hold on to that warm feeling for about 60 more seconds. Because success at that scale attracts exactly the attention this series studies. In 2019, Wang and his co-founders merged Instant Brands with Corel Brands, the maker of Pyrex, CorningWare, and Corel dishware, in a deal orchestrated by Corel's owner, a private equity firm called Cornell Capital, founded by a former Goldman Sachs veteran. On paper, a kitchenware supergroup, the hottest appliance in America joining the most trusted names in American cupboards, the founders got their payday, the firm got its trophy, and the machine you've watched for 15 files began to turn. What happened next comes largely from a single document, a lawsuit filed in Texas bankruptcy court in November 2024 by Alan Halperin, the trustee appointed to recover money for Instant Brands creditors, and so, for the rest of this file, treat every contested claim with the label it carries, alleged. According to that complaint, shortly after the deal closed, Cornell Capital discovered that Instant Brands' financials had been misstated, that the key profit metric used to price the acquisition had been inflated, meaning the firm had overpaid by a wide margin. The complaint quotes Corel's then CEO describing the acquired company's books with a phrase we will translate as a mess. Per the lawsuit, Cornell threatened fraud litigation against Wang and his co-founders, and in early 2020 the parties settled, the purchase price was restructured downward, the sellers were released from liability, and, in a detail the trustee places at the center of everything, Cornell Capital secured for itself the entitlement to a future $200 million dividend from the company. The firm also filed a $268 million insurance claim over the alleged misstatement, eventually settled, per the complaint, for $55 million. Now watch the move you know from our Payless file. In April 2021, with the pandemic cooking boom cresting, Instant Brands took out a $450 million term loan. According to the trustee's complaint, that loan, plus $100 million from the company's own balance sheet, funded a $345 million dividend paid out to Cornell Capital, its co-investors, the selling founders, and management. The trustee's core allegations are that the lenders funding this were not told the whole truth about the misstated financials and the company's real condition, and that the payout, quote, gutted the company, leaving it insolvent. If that maneuver sounds familiar, it should. It's the dividend recapitalization, the same instrument from our Payless file, where the company borrows and the owners collect. The trustee says that within 21 months of the dividend, Instant Brands had run out of money. Cornell Capital's answer, and this file gives it in full, because the firm is fighting these claims in court right now. The firm calls the lawsuit baseless and without merit. It says the dividend and related transactions were independently reviewed and permitted by the lenders themselves. And it points to a sworn statement from Instant Brand's own former chief restructuring officer attributing the collapse not to the dividend, but to forces no one controlled. Soaring interest rates, supply chain chaos, and the great pandemic hangover, because there's a real business story here too, and honesty requires it. The Instant Pot had a structural problem money cannot fix. It's too good. It doesn't break. It has no refills, no subscriptions, no consumables. Nearly everyone who wanted one bought one during the boom, many as gifts, and a product that lasts a decade generates precisely 0 repeat purchases in year 2. Sales fell for 7 consecutive quarters. The company sprayed out spin-offs, air fryers, blenders, sous vide sticks, diluting the brand without replacing the wave. Some of this collapse, genuinely, was gravity. But here's the frame this series has earned the right to put on it. Gravity plus debt is what kills. A debt-free Instant Brands riding down from a once-in-a-century demand spike is a company having a rough couple of years. And Instant Brands carrying a $450 million loan whose proceeds, per the trustee, left the building as a dividend is a company with a countdown clock. In June 2023, the clock hit 0. Chapter 11. With over $500 million in debt, the company said it could no longer sustain, its bonds trading at 22 cents on the dollar. And the trustee's complaint adds one more allegation for the connoisseurs of this series, that in January 2023, months before filing, assets were shuffled into new subsidiaries and pledged to Cornell in exchange for a $55 million loan, a transaction the trustee alleges was structured, in part, so the bankruptcy would not land within 2 years of the dividend, the window in which bankruptcy law makes such payouts easiest to claw back. Cornell disputes that characterization too. The court will sort it out, genuinely. No judge has ruled on any of this, and this file will deserve an update either way. The aftermath, at least, is settled fact. Instant Brands pieces were sold out of bankruptcy. The company emerged in 2024 under new private equity ownership. Pyrex, CorningWare, and the Instant Pot itself all survive. The products were never the problem. Robert Wang declined to comment when reporters called about the bankruptcy of the company built on his invention. And in the trustees' lawsuit, among the roughly 20 defendants alongside Cornell Capital and its founder, one name stands out: Robert Wang. The inventor himself, named per the complaint because the sellers took a share of that 2021 dividend. The laid-off engineer who built the perfect product now waits on the same court docket as the financiers. 16 files in, that might be the single most complete image this series has produced. In the extraction economy, even the founder ends up as a line item. So let's close the shelf for now. 16 files. Real estate, buyout debt, both sides tables, dividend recaps, fired workforces, inflated stories, buybacks, and now a live case, still being argued, where you can watch the machinery litigated in real time and decide, when the ruling comes, whether the pattern held. That's why this channel exists. Not because every company death is a crime, our own files prove some aren't, but because the headlines will always tell you a promotion, a website, or a pandemic did it, and the filings keep pointing somewhere else. The Instant Pot on your counter will outlive the litigation about the company that made it. Keep the receipt. In this economy, the receipt is the story. If you want more files like this one, the companies you grew up with, the products you trusted, and the paper trails underneath them, that's what we do here at the Liquidation Files. The next file is already open. I'll see you in that one.